Thank you. Thank you. Thank you for all that applause. Good Saturday morning to you. It is August 15th, 2026, and this is episode 52 of Morning Buzz with the Energy Guy. This is our 1 year anniversary. Wow, how time flies. I mean, it's crazy. Seems like just yesterday we were starting. But who needs coffee when you have Morning Buzz with the Energy Guy? Morning Buzz with the Energy Guy, the only podcast awarded the prestigious Energy Star label. Thank you for listening. Wow, this podcast is devoted to energy efficiency on several different platforms. You can listen on Apple Podcast, YouTube, and Spotify Podcast. Remember to like, follow, subscribe, and share, all those good things. So, wow, 1 year. That's a lot of information. That's a lot of hours. That's 26 hours of material, of content. So if you're really, really, really bored, listen to season 1 of Morning Buzz with the Energy Guy. This is the last episode of season 1. And of course, if you haven't been an avid listener and know the background, we actually had a radio show we did for 5 years. So it's like 250 shows. We did those on KCLV 99.1 here in Clovis, and those aired at 7 o'clock every Saturday morning. So that's what we designed this show to do, was drop at 7 a.m. every Saturday morning. But we did that for 5 years, and then we took a 5-year hiatus. I had a partner, Jason Lindsay, and we did those first 5 years together. And then he left the business and went into farming, and he's still farming and living the dream. But I get to see him occasionally. Hey, Jason, if you're listening, and give you a shout out, Jason Lindsay. Anyway, he's a farmer extraordinaire now and really enjoying his life. But yeah, we took a 5-year hiatus, and talking to the general manager, Antonio Sanchez, and we thought, hey, let's do a podcast. And he was all for it. So a year ago we started it, and here we are, 52 episodes later. We've been out at the Curry County Fair this week. It's Fair Week, so obviously we had a little rain on Thursday night. Had a little. I'm not out at the fair, so I don't know if we're going to have rain or not Friday. But it did look like rain when I left work Friday evening, but I didn't go back out to the fair. We missed the little bit of rain at my house Thursday night, but I hear that the fair did get some, and which is typical. You know, we kind of you could bet dollars to donuts that we're going to get rain sometime during the Curry County Fair. Anyway, if you haven't been out there, it's really nice what the county has done. The commercial building is completely gutted from what it had been for 50 years or more. It looked the same last year as it had for my entire life. And I've been out there almost 30 years with Farmers Electric's booth. But yeah, they gutted it completely and put in all new LED lighting, a bunch of insulation, put some new metal skin on the building, put a nice concrete work and porch out on the front of the building that faces south, new lighting, new doors. It's just really nice. Oh, air conditioning, by the way, like refrigerated air, like 4 huge units out there. Anyway, I'm guessing it was some capital outlay money from the state, and the county probably had some matching money that they had in order to get that grant. But hey, Lance Pyle and his group in the county have done just an amazing job. So shout out to Lance Pyle. Anyway, last night, Friday night, our line crew was out, and they did 3 demonstrations, 3 shows, one at 6:30, one at 7:30, and one at 8:30. And they've got an arcing trailer that shows the actual dangers and power of overhead power line, high voltage. So, I mean, they cook a hot dog, it kind of explodes. They put a Mylar balloon up in it, and it sizzles, and you can hear the arcing. And then they've got a little Tonka truck they arc to, and it's just it's a good time for all, and really, really impressive for the kids. And that's kind of the crowd we're looking for. I mean, adults are welcome, obviously, but it really leaves a lasting impression on the kids, and that's what we had. So our guys that are out there Tyler Smith he's an avid listener of Morning Buzz with Energy Guy. So thank you, Tyler, for doing the narration both nights, both Friday and tonight, Saturday night. Again, they'll be out they're just south of the food trucks before you get to the Midway, across the way from the BMX demonstration. So Tyler Cable, thank you for getting your line guys out there. I can't remember everybody's be out there. Dominic, Ian, Adrian, Roger. If there's anybody else, I'm sorry, but these guys do an outstanding job. We've got the best crew. I've been working here for a long time, but right now our crew is like tip top. And I'm not talking about just Clovis. I'm talking about Farmers Electric in general. Our whole service area has just some outstanding employees, and I'm tickled pink to come to work and work with some of the best people in the world. So anyway, again, tonight, 6:30, 7:30, and 8:30. Hope you can be there. That is Friday, August 15th. They'll be out at the Curry County Fair. Okay, six and a half after the hour. We'll go ahead and get started. This week's show, it's kind of special, being a year and everything. 52 shows, 26 hours of content. But we got a question on our Facebook Messenger, and it's from Bill. And it goes like this. Hey, Energy Guy, I saw your article in July-August Power Source Newsletter. Power Source Newsletter is another way we communicate with our members. So it's bi-monthly. And so we have 6 of these a year. So our July and August issue went out in the first part of July. But it's called Power Source. And I guess Bill was thumbing through it. And anyway, he saw an article about Morning Buzz with Energy Guy. It was called, I think, Ask the Energy Guy. But it prompted this question for me. Bill says, I know it might be a little early, but I wanted to get ahead of things. Fall will be here before we know it. What are some things I can do as a homeowner consumer as we transition from summer to fall? Thanks in advance, Bill. Great question, Bill. Before I answer, and of course, this answer is geared towards residents largely, but also, a business can use some of this information as well. This isn't strictly energy efficiency for residents, although that's where I kind of focus. But, if you've got a business out there, you can follow some of these same basically logical things that you've heard your entire life, but at least you get to hear it from another source. That's what I always used to tell my kids. I'd give them great advice. And then, they kind of fell on deaf ears. And then a week later, they say, hey, Mr. So-and-so, Mr. Smith told us that we should do this, that, and the other thing. And I said, that's what I've been telling you. But sometimes it takes hearing it from somebody else, right? All you parents have been there, But that's what I do. I try to, and I kind of teach this like a teacher might approach something, and I use a lot of repetition, and that's how we learn, right? Through repetition. So, man, great question. Before I answer, though, I want to encourage listeners to do exactly what Bill did. As you listen to the show and think of a question, or during the week, whatever you may think of a question, send me a message using our Facebook Messenger. You can find the show on Facebook by searching Morning Buzz with the Energy Guy. That's Morning Buzz with the Energy Guy. Remember, the only dumb question is one that isn't asked. Thanks again, Bill from Santa Rosa. Hello, Santa Rosa, city of natural lakes. We're celebrating the centennial 100 year of Route 66 this year, all year long. But it reminds me of a movie, The Grapes of Wrath, and that was starring Henry Fonda, among others. But they stopped in Santa Rosa for a while, and they actually filmed it in Santa Rosa. It's an old black and white movie. I can't even tell you what year it was from, probably the 40s. But pretty interesting route. Can you imagine that there were cars driving across from Chicago to Los Angeles, across the country, basically, 100 years ago? That just blows my mind. Of course, it blows my mind that this is episode 52 of Morning Buzz with Energy Guy. But I'm glad you're here. Glad you're listening. Key things to be mindful of. Well, let's back up a little bit. The transition from summer heat to fall is a good opportunity to shift your energy efficiency strategy from cooling focus to heating focus. Now, I know we're not there yet, but we're trying to get ahead of it, just like Bill asked. So before cold weather arrives, these are things you want to consider. Key things to be mindful of. Number one, HVAC changeover. Don't switch from AC to heating based solely on the calendar. Use outdoor temperatures and indoor comfort as your guide. Have your heating system inspected or tuned by, and I've mentioned these guys before, and I won't go into detail because we're 10 and a half minutes in, but Andy Cox and Brian Cox over at Cox Refrigeration, they'd be happy to come out and check your HVAC system. And they're members of Farmers Electric. Also, JQ Heating and Air Conditioning Electric, Jason Queener, give him a shout. Ori will come out. His name's Ori. He's one of their best technicians. He'll come out and check your system out, and he'll tell you it's A-OK or, hey, you're going to need some Freon or this, that, or the other thing. So, and it's very reasonable, and it gives you some peace of mind. Let's see. Replace or clean HVAC filters so the system doesn't work harder than necessary. We talk about that a lot. If you have a heat pump, you want to avoid frequent manual switching between heating and cooling when outdoor temperature fluctuates. Number two, thermostat settings. Gradually adjust your thermostat rather than making large temperature changes. I suggest that particularly if you're trying to heat up your home. Cooling's not as big an issue. I still do it. I always move my thermostat in 2-degree increments. I'm just a creature of habit. So maybe you should do that, but you definitely want to do that if you've got a heat pump and you're starting to warm up your house, because if you do it anymore on a lot of models, if you do it 3 or 4 degrees, you're telling it that this is an emergency and I want my emergency backup heat strips or gas to come on and heat this house up quickly. And that's when you get into paying, a lot of money. If you gradually move it up and actually let the heat pump, if you've got a heat pump, the outdoor unit heat up your home, it's going to heat up your home more gradually. And then as you come by, say you move it from 65 to 67, and then it hits 67, it reaches 60, and you go, you know what, I'm going to go from 67 to 68, and just do that. And just as you walk by, just glance at it. Consider a programmable or smart thermostat to automatically reduce heating, cooling when the building is unoccupied. Watch for the shoulder season. Problem: cool mornings, warm afternoons, and unnecessary heating and cooling on the same day. So be mindful of that. When I say shoulder month, I'm talking about September, when you don't use a lot of heating or air conditioning, but you do use some. What would be another? April would be a good one where you don't use much cooling or heating. Those are what's called shoulder months. Air leaks. Check doors, windows, weather stripping, and other openings for drafts. Fall is an ideal time to address air leakage before heating costs increase. Pay particular attention to exterior doors, attic penetrations, plumbing and electrical openings, and older windows. Hey, you remember the phrase "talk is cheap"? T-A-L-K, talk. So is caulk. C-A-U-L-K. Caulk is cheap. So caulk these things that are, excuse me, like where a window meets interior wall, a different material. That's a good place to caulk. Use clear silicone caulking. That way, if you get a little messy, you can't really see it because it's clear. Also, plumbing penetrations beneath the sink, especially on an exterior wall in like a kitchen that has an exterior wall. Make sure those plumbing penetrations have got some caulking or some of that expanding foam. That works great, because usually when those plumbers are plumbing for that, they make the hole bigger than they need to. It's easier to push the pipe through. But be looking for those things. Insulation. Inspect attic insulation and make sure it hasn't disturbed or compressed. Adequate insulation helps keep summer heat out and retain indoor heat during fall and winter. Don't overlook ductwork in attics, garages, crawl spaces, or other unconditioned area. Ductwork is a big cause of high bill concerns. It accounts for about 30% of all high bill concerns is loose ductwork. Okay, so stick your head up in that attic if you haven't been up there in a while. Be careful, you don't want to fall through the ceiling or anything like that. If you're not comfortable at doing things like that, I'm sure you can find some handyman that'll do some of this stuff for you on the cheap. Windows and solar heat. As summer ends, consider whether exterior shades, blinds, or window coverings should be adjusted. And that is something I talk about all the time. During cooler fall days, strategically allow sunlight through south-facing windows. So open those blinds and curtains on the south side and get that free solar heating. That can, we call it passive heat from the sun. At night, closing blinds and curtains can help reduce heat loss. You want to keep that expensive heat in those conditions room. You want to keep it trapped, so it gets you through the night and keeps you warm. Lighting. Fall brings shorter daylight hours, so lighting energy consumption will creep upward. Make sure timers, occupancy sensors, and daylight controls are adjusted for the changing sunrise and sunset schedule. I drive around all day long. I've got my wife trained now. She points it out before I do. But 3 p.m, you're driving around Clovis, New Mexico, USA, 16 and a half after the hour. We're going to have to pick it up for a second. But and all these parking lot lights are on. I'm like, what in the world? 3 p.m, bright, sunny. It might as well be 8 a.m. as far as the sunlight's concerned. And these people, these businesses have their parking lights, lit. And I'm thinking, what are they thinking? There's a general manager in the store. Do they not consider that? And of course, the same folks are going to have a bunch of weeds out in their yard and just not well kept. And it's frustrating. And those are kind of some of the businesses. I think they're not really responsible. I might not do any business with them because they seem a little. And I've said that about weeds in businesses' yards, like restaurants. They got a bunch of weeds in their yard and just looks terrible. I think that may be the way they keep up their kitchen too. So I'm kind of hesitant to go into those businesses, but you be your own judge on that. Let's see. On lighting, replace frequently used inefficient bulbs with LED bulbs if you haven't already. LED light-emitting diodes is what we call it. Been around a long time. Technology's, I remember LEDs on my boombox back in the 80s that I carried around on my shoulder and thought I was really cool. But I had my Eastern New Mexico bi-level haircut and sunglasses and my jams and my jams on my shorts were called jams, and my jams were on my shoulder too. But remember those little red lights and blue lights and green lights that lit up? Those were all light emitting diodes. And now the technology's come so far where they have really become the superior lighting in your home or business. Water heating. Cooler weather can increase hot water demand. Check hot water pipes for insulation, particularly in unconditioned areas. Look for dripping faucets or hot water leaks that can quietly increase energy use. Fans. Ceiling fans don't actually lower room temperature. I've said that before. They don't cool rooms. They make occupants feel cooler through air movement. As temperatures drop, reverse the ceiling fans, if appropriate for your fan model, to help circulate warm air. That would be bringing air up through the center of the room and then down the sides of the walls. That way you're not really feeling any draft, because warm air naturally rises, so you want to push it off the ceiling and then down the walls and then into the room. Oh, let's see. Outdoor equipment. Keep HVAC outdoor units clear of leaves. We're going to start losing leaves here in a few weeks. And it's funny. It seems like one day you can have dead leaves on a tree, and the next day, I don't know if it probably has something to do with the temperature, the low over the night, and they just drop. And you got this naked tree and a bunch of leaves concentrated around it. And that's the one you rake up, or you have your kids rake up, and then your little ones or your dog are running through the pile of leaves, messing it up. But you know what? Life is short. Enjoy those little ones while you can. Don't prematurely cover equipment that is designed to operate year-round. Follow the manufacturer's recommendations. Let's see. Before winter, inspect exposed pipes and other components that could be affected by freezing temperatures. Great information. Ventilation and indoor air quality. As windows stay closed more often, the building, whether it be commercial or residence, may rely more heavily on mechanical ventilation. Make sure ventilation rates aren't unnecessarily high while you still meet applicable indoor air quality requirements. Clean ventilation filters and inspect outdoor air intakes. And that was something more geared towards towards commercial. Let's see. Use seasonal transition as a baseline. Compare your energy consumption from late summer to early fall. A sudden increase can indicate equipment running unexpectedly, poor scheduling, air leakage, or controls that need adjustment. If you're managing a facility, here's some more in commercial. This is a particularly useful time to establish a baseline before winter heating demand begins. And a baseline would be any of those shoulder months, because you're really not doing much heating or air conditioning. So if you look at your bill in September into October, maybe you take half of September and half the last part of September, the first part of October, and average 30 days there. What do you use per day, or what do you use per 30 days, and that be your baseline. That is what you use without heating or air conditioning. Does that make sense? And then you'll know in February, in the dead of winter, compare that number, subtract that number from your February usage, and that will tell you basically what heating is costing you. Does that make sense? If not, listen to it again. Just rewind and listen to it again. Okay, 21 after the hour. We do have this day in history coming up, and it's kind of long, so the big picture is this, Bill. Thank you again for asking the question. Think of fall as a transition period rather than simply a heating season. The biggest efficiency opportunities tend to come from catching the small mistakes. In other words, a lot of small things add up to big things, big savings. Heating running on warm afternoons, cooling running on cool mornings, outdated scheduling, unnoticed air leaks, and equipment that hasn't been prepared for the change in operating conditions. Those are the things that are going to bite you in the backside. Okay? That's it on that. Thanks again, Bill, from Santa Rosa, city of natural lakes. August 15th, this day in history, 1914, the Panama Canal opens. The canal officially opened to commercial traffic, transforming global shipping routes. 1945, Japan announces surrender. Emperor Hirohito's radio broadcast announcing Japan's acceptance of the Allied surrender terms was heard by the Japanese public. Japan formally signed the surrender on September 2nd. So I believe today, August 15th, is considered being VJ Day, Victory in Japan Day. Of course, we had already had victory in Europe. So that was actually the end of hostilities of World War II. 1947, Indian independence. India became independent from British rule August 15th, and they celebrate, and it is always celebrated as India's Independence Day. So happy Independence Day to any Indian listeners we may have. 1969, Woodstock begins. You remember that large concert, the legendary Woodstock Music Festival, opened in Bethel, New York, bringing hundreds of thousands of people together for 3 days of music and counterculture. A lot of counterculture, I believe. That's a big part of the hippie movement, 1969, August 15th. 1971, Nixon announces wage and price controls. U.S. President Richard Nixon announced a 90-day freeze on wages and prices as part of his economic program. I'm not sure how that worked out. I know that about 3 years later, he resigned from office, but it didn't have anything to do with this. But notable people born August 15th, Napoleon Bonaparte. He got a little guy that might have had a little bit of short man syndrome, 1769, French military and political leader. Had a big part of the first and second French revolutions. Walter Scott, 1771, Scottish novelist and poet. Julia Child, you may remember Julia. I do. She was born 1912. American chef and television personality. Saturday Night Live used to do a skit on her all the time because poor Ms. Child, she used to cut herself frequently, particularly as she got a little older, and she bled profusely. So SNL did this big thing on her, and she's cut herself and she's shooting, blood squirting all over the food, and It was pretty funny. You have to look some of those up on YouTube. Princess Anne, 1950, British royal. Jennifer Lawrence, American actress. You remember her from The Hunger Games, amongst other things. 1990, she was born. So she's 36 years old now. Yeah, easy math. Notable deaths on August 15th. It's 25 after, so we're going to finish this just about right. Macbeth, King of Scotland, died in the year 1057. The historical Scottish king whose reign inspired William Shakespeare's Macbeth. He was killed in battle by Malcolm Canmore. Philip of Hainault. Boy, I should have read through this. I hope I'm pronouncing that right. They're not around, so I'm not too concerned. 1369, Queen Consort of Edward III of England and an important patron of the arts and religious institution. Philippa Hainault, I think. Anyway, like I said, she's not around to get on to me. Let's see. Will Rogers. My mom was very fond of Will Rogers because she thought her father looked a lot like Will Rogers, and he did. I would look back at pictures. I didn't ever know my grandfather. He died before I was born. But Will Rogers died in 1935, American humorist, actor, writer, and political commentator. He died in this very next person I'm going to talk about. They died in the same plane crash in 1935. But it was Willie Post, the famous aviator, pioneering American aviation and pioneer to American aviation, and the first person to fly solo around the world. But apparently they were flying together, and plane crashed, killed them both, unfortunately. Julian Bond, 2015, died in 2015, American civil rights leader, politician, and longtime chairman of the NAACP. Finally, Gerd Müller died in 2021, legendary German soccer striker, one of the greatest goal scorers one of the greatest goal scorers, in football soccer history. Wow, 1 year, 52 shows. I'm glad you've been here along with me. Again, you can find our podcast on different platforms: Spotify podcast, Apple podcast, and YouTube. Remember to like us, follow us, subscribe, and share. Guys, we appreciate you listening to Morning Buzz with the Energy Guy. We'll see you next week. Thanks for listening.